Taho, Taho, Balut, Balut. Hi, Macabano. Have you ever bought food from these roaming street carts or street stalls in the Philippines? You know the guys who either they're like walking around or they're cycling a little cart. It's got to be human powered, their mode of transportation, and they have like some sort of delicious food on their backs or in the cart, and you know they're coming because they make a sound. Then they will have like a unique sound. Either they yell something or they ding something, and it's a particular sound associated with that food, and then you rush out and buy it, because if you miss it, the guy's never coming back, or he'll come back the next day, but he's never coming back that day. And this is a thing that is really unique to Southeast Asia. Like I've seen it in Indonesia and I've seen it here in the Philippines, but outside of like the ice cream truck, I've never seen this in Australia. I don't know if it's common in the US, again outside of the ice cream truck, but you know, when I was a kid I used to love it. The ice cream truck would drive around the streets and you heard the music coming, and then kids would run out and you'd get your cheap ice cream as the guy passed. But here in the Philippines, it's like not just one category of food, it's like an entire economy of mobile food on demand with a particular sound. So I'm going to look at my top 5 paninda, or like mobile food options that these guys sell that you can get in Manila, and I'm going to try and explain to you what's their particular sound effect in each case as well. So the first one, and probably one of the most famous paninda on the streets of the Philippines, would be Taho. This one you always know it's coming because you'll just hear this Taho, Taho on the streets, right? And this is sort of a delicious snack that you can typically have for breakfast, but you can actually have as merienda as well, but it's usually sold very early in the morning. So the Taho, the tofu we're talking about, is the fresh, soft tofu, and it's almost like custard in consistency, right? Not like the hard tofu that you fry up. And you sort of add arnibal, which is like a brown sugar syrup, you add sago pearls, and you sort of stir that through. So it's kind of like a sweetened protein paste almost. Now the guys who carry this, they'll typically have like a carrying stick. I don't know if there's a technical term for that, but they'll have a pot on either side that's kind of balanced, and that will contain their taho. And then they just sort of walk around, and then when somebody runs out wanting to buy taho, they'll sort of squat down, they'll serve it up from their pots, and then they'll pick it up and keep going on their journey. The price in the Philippines, and I don't know if anybody's selling this overseas yet, but this is how cheap it is in the Philippines. So typically a small cup will be 10 pesos. This is like 2017 prices. 15 pesos for the large cup, and you can bring your own container or Taho vessel or whatever you want to call it, and they'll fill it for you, and that normally costs, it's kind of the guy I guess will look at the volume of your container and then quote you a price, but usually like 20 to 25. It's a bigger container. It's also a lot cheaper if you're buying this in the province or like residential communities. Don't buy it in Makati, super mahal dito, like talagang mahal as in nosebleed sa price. The next on my list of paninda sold from a roaming guy is binatog. Now this is a snack that's made from corn kernels, and then typically it'll be topped with grated coconut, sugar, or salt, or a combination thereof. So the boiled white corn kernels, those aren't inherently sweet, so you really want the grated coconut, and sugar will sort of make it on the sweeter side, or salt as well would make it sort of salty and sweet at the same time. How it's consumed, it's typically you just mix this through in a bowl, mix all the ingredients together. The white corn on its own, those kernels aren't inherently flavorsome. It's not like sweet corn, so you're pretty much going to stir through your pangpalasa and then just consume that from a bowl, and it's usually sold at merienda time. Now normally you know that binatog is nearby. Either these guys will use a horn, like a pot when they're walking through the barangay, or they'll yell out with like a sort of decreasing long tone at the end, so like binatog, and that will sort of indicate that one of these guys is nearby and you can run out and buy some food from him. So magbabinatog, that is a technical term meaning guy who sells binatog. They'll normally use a bicycle to transport the binatog. So they'll have like a big container of it called like a balde, and that will be the back of their bicycle, and they'll sort of roam around the barangay and sell the binatog to people. Now there's a few variants of binatog around the Philippines. For example, in Baguio City, they'll normally put in some evac milk and sugar, so theirs will be like a more creamy style of binatog compared to what we normally have in Manila, which is a bit more like coconut based and less creamy. Now pricing, normally 15 to 20 pesos per serving. Again, if you're in the barangay, it's cheap, and if you're in Makati like me, it's mahal. So I don't get to eat this one very much, and there's not too many binatog sellers roaming around the streets of Legazpi or Salcedo village here in Makati, unfortunately for me. But here in the province, this is a fairly common thing to find. Okay, now number 3 on my list today is of course balut, or should I say balut? Balut. your street vendors will yell that out as they walk around. They're typically going to be also on a bicycle to increase how far they can roam, how much like territory they can cover as a balut salesperson, right? And it's so funny. It's like the concept of a roaming salesperson overseas is like, I don't know, a guy who sells insurance or sells gadgets or something. And here in the Philippines, it's like literally you can be a traveling duck embryo seller. That's like literally what this job is. You are a traveling duck embryo seller, and not duck embryo for like scientific purposes, duck embryo for consumption purposes. That's a job here in the Philippines. So I should have a go at this one. I think I would be a good balut salesman. But these guys, they'll basically roam around. They'll sell a balut for maybe 20 to 30 pesos per piece. The balut eggs are normally kept in a basket and they're wrapped with thick cloth to maintain their temperature at this sort of optimal temperature to preserve the egg. And then when you're eating this, so you buy your balut and you'll sort of crack the egg, you drink the soup inside, delicious. Just pound some embryonic fluid, like nature's energy drink. And then you will break the egg halfway. The meat is inside, which like, and when I say meat, I mean visibly a duck embryo. And you might put like salt and vinegar on that. So you add some saltiness and sourness to it, and then you eat it. Now, balut is not overly popular as a daytime snack. It is generally a nighttime food, right? And often popular as a pulutan in the Philippines. So as a pulutan, this is something that's often going to be served with beer. You're having your Friday night gimmick or your Tuesday night gimmick or your every night of the week gimmick, and these guys will come by, sell you a balut for a good price, and you'll eat that with your beer. And what's interesting here is that potentially you could be like, if you wanted to sort of double shift as a roaming seller, you could sell like Bennett in the morning or in the afternoon and then sell balut at night. So I'm sure there's some clever manininda on the streets of the Philippines who have worked this out, that it's like you sell a daytime food and then a nighttime food and you can double your sales. So if anybody has actually done this, let me know, like if you've sort of worked two food groups at different times of day. I'd be really interested to hear your story. Leave a comment below. Okay, so number 2 on my list today is puto and kuchinta. Puto and kuchinta are basically famous Filipino rice cakes. Puto is a white steamed rice cake, and this will usually be topped with cheese, even if it's like just that sort of preserved, no refrigeration cheese, but just gives it a bit of sort of saltiness. So it's a salty, sweet flavor profile. Really delicious. You often find it in the wet markets around Manila. And kuchinta, of course, is the rice cake that is like a brown jelly-looking substance, and that's made with sort of rice cake, brown sugar to get that nice brown color. And it's sort of almost like a slimy consistency, not like wet slimy, but that parang super like smooth and flabby kind of texture. So these guys selling puto and kuchinta will normally use a horn, but how do you know the difference between the puto kuchinta seller versus other types of food, right? And again, this is in the pre-app days where you didn't just like be able to like just select it through scrolling the app. So what their horn sounds like is like, and that's how you know it's particularly kuchinta or puto compared to, say, binatog, which might also use a different type of horn. And then normally they're gonna sell this for like 5 pesos per piece. So if you consider that typically you can buy, you know, say 8 pieces of this in the market for like 30 pesos, say you're in Cubao, then you go and sell it for 5 pieces. You're getting like maybe a 25% profit on it would be my guess. And you're probably buying wholesale, remember, so your profit could even be higher. Like you're probably getting a discount on the packet. So you're probably buying for 3, selling for 5 would be my guess. So, you know, nice little profit margin there, but a lot of work cycling around and you gotta sell a lot of this to make money. And the last one on my list today of paninda that you must know about and you should run out of your house for is, of course, dirty ice cream. Ice cream is like the #1 global thing that you're going to run out of your house to buy. So here in the Philippines as well, dirty ice cream, or sorbetes as it's often referred to here, this was really only introduced to the Filipinos in the post-refrigeration era. So during the American period of the Philippines, refrigeration and freezers were introduced and became more widespread. And Filipinos then localized ice cream by using locally available Carabao milk instead of thicker, creamier cow's milk. So you find that sorbetes or dirty ice cream is normally, it tastes a little bit thinner, I would say, than a traditional cow's milk ice cream. And the Filipinos call the ice cream dirty because, I guess in contrast to like industrial ice cream that comes in pre-sealed containers, this ice cream is like sold by a kuya who's not wearing sanitary gloves, who is just got his like pretty dirty cart that he rolls through the traffic every day. And I guess people kind of joke maybe that you could get sick eating it, or it's kind of not particularly clean. I don't think it's too bad. I eat dirty ice cream on the street. Despite the fact that this ice cream is not known to use like modern modern sanitary techniques in its processing, and Filipinos are generally like pro-factory industrialized food. When it comes to dirty ice cream, I think they're prepared to let any like qualms about the cleanliness, just let it go, because it's hot and the ice cream's cold and it's delicious. So it's like Filipinos in this are just prepared to like turn a blind eye and just eat it anyway. So it's still very widely patronized in the streets of Manila today. I still see this one a lot, like the weekend markets here in Makati City, but even when it's not the markets on the street, the dirty ice cream sellers are still around. They'll sell the ice cream either in cones or in buns, and then depending how many scoops you want, that will drive the price. So it's usually for a little scoop about 5 pesos. So you might have 3 scoops or 4 scoops, so 15 or 20 pesos for a serve, and depending on the size of the cups. Now in the West, the ice cream truck would typically like play children's songs and then have like an electronic speaker or something. The Philippines' rudimentary approach here is instead to just use a bell, and the guy just like rings the bell as he's going. So that's how you know it's ice cream as opposed to one of the other many paninda that's out there. So there you go, mga kabano. That's my exploration into some of the top Filipino paninda. And if you're living overseas, I'd be interested to know, like, have you ever encountered this kind of phenomena abroad of roaming street food hawkers, I guess, in the local communities? Is that a thing outside of the Philippines or outside of Southeast Asia? And of course, what is your favorite street paninda that gets sold? What makes you run out of your house to go and spend 15 or 20 pesos, you know, with one of these guys? Interested to hear your thoughts on this. Let us know if we missed any great paninda. So thanks for watching, guys. Remember to subscribe, press the little bell down there for notifications if you haven't already. And of course, over at our Facebook and Instagram page, you'll see a lot of our like giveaways and competitions and more information and funny stuff about eating in the Philippines and food and fun from the Philippines. So check those out as well. I'm Chris Urbano. I'll see you guys all next time. Bye now.